And as soon as I had that thought, all of a sudden I found myself out of my body. And now I'm looking at above the hole. It looks like I'm looking from shore, but I could see all the way down the river. I could see both ways. I could just see the whole thing. I could see the whole river. It was like a 360 view, basically. I was just watching everything. I just thought maybe I was on the shore now, just sitting on shore, like watching things. I didn't even know that I was in the hole. And I watched this friend of mine that I knew. Was coming down, and he was in a canoe, and he came down and got stuck in that hole, rolled up a few times, but he was able to get out. And I thought, oh, look, there's blah, blah, blah. Oh, he's having a tough time. And so then the next thing I know, all of a sudden, I'm not looking at the river, but now I'm looking at kind of like a screen. That's the best I can describe it. And all of a sudden, I started reviewing my life from the time I was born to the time at that where I'm now. And as I was viewing my life, I was viewing every single moment of my life. But I was viewing it from a point of view of what I could have done better, where I didn't learn how to love better. And it was like every thought, every action, everything I did, I was reviewing. And at any moment, I could stop and be in that moment, exactly in that moment, and feel how it felt for me and how it felt for others, of what my actions were. And I watched it like ripple out. Like, imagine you taking a rock and throw it in the middle of the lake, and it makes a big boom, right? But then it starts rippling out. So initially it's a big boop, but it ripples out. If the lake is really calm, it'll go all the way to the whole lake. It'll cover the entire lake surface. And that's what I watched, how my actions affected them. If they had children, it affected their children, or affected their family, affected their friends. It just rippled out. And then the next thing I did, I went back, and this time I reviewed my life, but this time from the point of view of what I did well, how I loved well. And the same thing, I watched it, how it affected those people around me, and how it affected them, and how it rippled out. It just rippled out over the whole world, just in actions. And what caught me off guard, so to speak, was what was important in my life. And all the things that up to that point, what I thought were important, had no importance whatsoever. It was like, oh, I have a great job. Oh, I have money in the bank. Oh, I've climbed Mount Everest. I've traveled all over the world several hundred times. None of those mattered. What mattered was the littlest things that I didn't even think mattered the most. Like where I said a kind word, where I helped somebody. It was pure kindness. I wasn't expecting anything in return for the kindness or whatever I did. It was just out of the pure love of doing it. And those were my precious moments that I realized were the most important thing that I'd done up to that point. And there wasn't any God. There wasn't anybody there to judge me. I was raised Catholic. So for me, I always had, there's a God, you're going to get judgment day, there's going to be heaven and hell, and if you're halfway decent, you'll go to purgatory. And there was none of that. There was no judgment. The only judgment was my judgment, was how I judged what I did well and what I didn't do well. That was it. And after I had that, I realized, wow, I really did love well this lifetime. And as soon as I had that thought, I got zapped back into my body. Now I'm back in my body, but this time it's completely calm. I don't feel the water on me. I don't feel that I need any air. It's completely calm, completely at peace. There's no fear whatsoever. I have no fear. And at that point, I realized, yes, it's okay for me to go, and I can go peacefully. And I put up my hands and I said, okay, God, I'm ready to go. And as soon as I said that, the next thing that happened, I entered a black void. It was just completely black. And I remember thinking, wow, this isn't anything like I thought what death would be. Is this heaven? Is this hell? I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what was happening. And this voice came over and said, no, this is not heaven. This is not hell. This is just a transition for you. You've had an earthly experience, and now it's time for you to let go of those things that you're holding on to. And immediately when that voice said that to me, I flashed back to when I had an out-of-body experience when I was younger, where they showed me my true essence of who I was. And that what they showed me was that I was light. That was it, that I was a light. But when they showed me that light, I saw that I had like little dark places that didn't have the light shining through. And some areas was a little bit lighter than others. Some had like grayness to it, and some had like little specks of blackness around it. And then there was like almost like a crack going down my chest, like a crack of black light. It wasn't very big, but it was a crack. It looked like a crack. And then I said, my thought to that, whoever said that words to me, I said, oh, do you mean like that? That image I had of me with the light and the blackness and the darkness around me, those little black dots. And the voice said, exactly like that. Yes, get rid of those. And as I started to get rid of those, I would consider fear. I would consider beliefs, consider things that I was holding on to. As I started to get rid of those things, the peace and the sheer bliss that I felt was incredible. I mean, there's nothing comparing it, anything on earth like this feeling that I had. And so I was just floating in that space, being in that space, and just soaking it in, just like, and not having any thoughts, just being. And all of a sudden, I felt like there was like a little tiny light, like a little difference. There was like just a little shift in the darkness. And I went, I wonder what that is. And I went to it. And when I got there, it was like this white veil. It was like clouds, but it was like steam. It was like white, and it was like not that thick, but it was like a veil, and it was made of like white clouds. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. But I could see through it. And I'm on this side, it's black, and on the other side, I could see through it, and I could see beings. People were standing there, beings. I don't know if they were people, but the outlines of looked like people, and there were a bunch of them standing on the other side, and I could feel their presence, and I knew them, and I knew they knew me, and they were going to welcome me. And I could also see like a hill, and I could see like this buildings and like a city, but those ones I didn't focus on too much. I focused on the beings and how I felt, and I could feel their presence, and they were anticipating me to come through the veil. And I thought, oh, I just need to walk through the veil. That's all I need to do. And I was ready to step through the veil, and a voice came over and said, no, it's not your time. You have to go back. There are still things you have to do. And that voice was out of complete love, complete wisdom. I sensed that the voice knew more than I knew. For somehow I knew that voice knew that this was the best thing for me to do, is to go back. And I didn't question it at all. Not at all. I just said, okay. And as soon as I did that, I got zapped. And I wouldn't say zapped. It was more like I got sucked back down into this body. And the image is like, imagine, like when you rub a lantern and there's I Dream a Genie or whatever, and the genie would disappear and the smoke would go in the bottle. It was like that. Like I was being sucked back into this vessel, this we call the body. But it was so dramatic because here I felt the expansion of the universe, and now I'm getting sucked down, and the whole expansion of this universe is now in this body.